Morning and welcome all of you to this live session for our course on design thinking. Shyam and Sukrat and me, we all welcome you to this. We are so excited because this is our first live session for this batch. So uh, this is mainly our live sessions are focused on the fact that there may be questions, there may be doubts, there may be certain things that you want us to clarify in the course, in your application of the method, whatever be it, you should you can bring this up with us. We will try our best to answer them here. Of course, if you're watching this as a recording on YouTube, you can post your question on discussion forum, and we'll be happy to answer this as well. So, so if you can, I mean, we can get Shyam and Sukrat are our masters of ceremony, so to speak. So they will guide us through how to go about doing this. So I'm just a guy who sort of pitches in wherever necessary.
Sir, are you able to see my screen?
Yes.
Hello all, welcome to the live session on design thinking a primer. With me is Dr. Bala Ramodurai. Sir, may I introduce or would you like to proceed?
Go ahead. Yeah, why not? Why not?
Okay. So Dr. Bala is an author, coach and consultant. He has been in this field for quite a long time. And he is currently an international visiting faculty at University of Mexico. He has a PhD from Arizona State University, USA, and BTech from IT. His LinkedIn profile and blog is given in the description here. And also, I am Shyam, a teaching assistant for this course. And with me is Sukrat. We assist Bala sir with design thinking course, both at NPTEL as well as at IIT Madras here. We welcome you all to this session. You can, we will answer your questions that has been posted in the discussion forum as well as submitted through the Google form. If you still have any questions to ask to Bala sir, you can go ahead, unmute and talk once the questions here are answered by Professor Bala. Thank you. Sukrat?
Hi all, welcome.
Sorry, Sukrat. Go ahead. Go ahead.
So, yeah, Professor Bala does more than just sit there. He is quite as well running the show himself. So it's a nice thing. Pleased to have all of you here. Let's start discussing stuff.
Okay. Just a bit about these two guys, both of them, and this is something relevant to the course also. I mean, Shyam, show the next slide. Yeah. Both of them, which is relevant to this course, what I'm going to say is they have applied design thinking on a case that they cared about. So for me, that was the big plus, and in a way that I learned design thinking myself. So when I saw Shyam working on a case all by himself, I didn't ask him to do that. He did that. It is promising, and same with Sukrat as well. He applied design thinking to make somebody's life better than what it used to be. So that's one of the key messages in our course is to apply design thinking in any form, in any walk of life, any person at all. So if you're able to do that with the learning from the course, I think we have been fairly successful in this course. That's our big broad agenda of the course itself. Yeah, go on guys. Sorry, I just want to interrupt.
And about the book, this is written by Professor Bala himself. And this is a prescribed textbook for this course. It's available on Amazon as well as in Bala sir's website. The link is given here. Shall we start, sir, the question and answer session?
Oh, sure. Yeah, why not?
Okay. Hold on.
So at any time, if you have a question that you want us to answer, what we are going to be guided by is what you see on the screen. But if you have a question, the live audience, we will definitely listen to that and answer that, and then get back to this. That's going to be our priority, to answer what you have in this session, and then go on to what we have as a sort of from the discussion forum, or some frequently asked questions from our own experience from the previous courses, or from the Google form, as Shyam and Sukha just said. Okay, so if there are any questions at all, feel free to either raise your hand or unmute and start asking the question, and we'll pause whatever we're doing and we'll answer your question. That's our customer service warranty, so to speak. That's how we operate here.
Okay, the first question is by Ambrose. He's asking, how is karmic design thinking different from other schools of design thinking, apart from the number of steps that is already there? And when he's asking, when trying to solve an issue or implement a new idea, have you or the team ever come across a situation where you tend to adopt other methods of design thinking apart from our KDT?
Excellent question. So I don't know if you have a whiteboard here. I can use a whiteboard. Wait, I'll just open my whiteboard and probably share it with you guys, so that it's easier for me to talk about what are the differences and all that. Just a second. Give me a second. I'll just load my whiteboard here. Yeah, I got it. So let's see if you can see my screen. Can you see my screen?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. So in our methodology, KDT, we have EAST, as we call it. Okay, empathize, analyze, solve, and test. So these are the 4 steps of design thinking in karmic design thinking. Okay, in the other forms of design thinking, as the person who asked the question asked, the steps are very, very similar. Empathize is same as empathize. They also have, I'm referring to Stanford's, that's the alternate method that I have seen. Empathize is empathize also. Okay, instead of analyze, they call it define. Okay, so define is to reframe or frame the problem, which is what we do in analyze. So we use a couple of methods, multi-why and conflict of interest, to define the problem precisely. Our belief here is that the more you understand the customer user and the more you understand the problem that they're facing, it's easier in solve, and you're not wasting resources in terms of time or money or personnel in identifying what the problem is in by your solutions. Rather, we focus and try to understand the problem even better. Okay, so that's what we do in define. So it's identical in spirit. In solve, in the Stanford method, it's called ideate. So ideate is what goes in generating ideas, which is what we do in solve. Solve can be using your own creativity or your team's creativity, or you can use triggers from what you will see in week 3 videos is TRIZ based, TRIZ principles based. I've highlighted 3 of these principles, which can serve as triggers for you to look at different sort of ideas. Okay, and here is where some little bit of more differences come in. Okay, in test, what we say is give form to your ideas. In our methodology, we say give form to your ideas, and then you can take it to your customer. Okay, so that's what testing is all about. We empathize again. But in Stanford, they call it prototyping and testing. So according to me, prototyping is giving form to your ideas, which is what we suggest that you do in test. And when you test, you naturally go into empathize, cycle number 2. Okay, so that's what is the basic similarity plus / differences in the two methodologies. So if you the person who asked, okay, thank you. If you look at it, the 4 stages that you see here are identical in spirit into these 5 stages. Now, one advantage for retention is EAST is easier to remember: empathize, analyze, solve, and test. It's EAST, right? So you can remember it that way. Whereas I find EDIPT a little tricky to remember. But then there's always the internet, you can go look it up. But the spirit of the methodology is identical. So that's the first part of the question. The second part of the question was, do you use other methods also if you're stuck or if you don't know what to do? Do you use that? Has your teams ever faced this situation? The answer is yes and no. The answer, in spirit, when you're doing empathize, we suggest customer journey mapping as one of the ways in which you can find out what is going on with your users. But it needn't be. Some people use empathy mapping. Some people use just hanging out with the user without any construct, without any guide. They just hang out with the users and study groups, focus groups, call it whatever, right? So the main spirit of that is to see the whole thing from their point of view. If you can do that with customer journey mapping, so be it. If not, use any other methods at your disposal to find that out. Analysis is where we have used other tools apart from multi-why and contradiction or conflict of interest. I have used function mapping sometimes to figure out what is going on at the system level. Okay, function analysis or function mapping. This is from the TRIZ toolkit. TRIZ is something you will see in week 3. So that is something that has helped me a lot in visualizing the scenario in analysis. Okay, so once you figure out how things interact with each other, particularly in complex systems, it's very difficult to describe it in 1 or 2 words. We use systems mapping like that to figure this out. Solve usually is not a problem because there are so many of us. Guys like Shyam and Sukrat come up with ideas on an hourly basis. So when you hang out with these guys, it's not really a problem. But if you are stuck, of course, TRIZ triggers can help you break that block and generate more ideas. And as many of you who have made prototypes know, that ideas are good only if you can make it, right? So if we can make the prototype, if we can actually put it in practice, is when it becomes useful and practical. So prototyping, there are many ways to do it. Sometimes we use wireframes. You will see this in week 4, wireframes, or making something that you can quickly make it and take it to your customers and see how it works, or convincing yourself that this idea really works. Okay, so a lot of ways to do this. Only a few I have introduced. If you keep doing this over and over again, you will realize that sometimes you may need other tools. So that is my trial to answer your question. Hopefully it was useful for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, back to you,
Thank you,
Shyam.
sir.
Thank you.
So here is the next question. Hemavati P has asked, do we need to know all the 40 principles of TRIZ in this design thinking? I know we have discussed only very few in the course, and they somehow came to know that there are 40 principles, and they're asking Professor this question.
Okay, very, very nice question. This is great. Okay, the quick answer to this is no. You don't need to know 40 principles. Okay, that's the quick answer. If that satisfies you, you can skip the video forward in case you're watching the recording. If not, I'm going to tell you that these principles, so how it works, each of us, apparently, I read somewhere and I can't find out which reference I read this. Each of us has 5 or 6 thinking patterns. Okay, so we have certain thinking patterns ourselves, and all of us, irrespective of your educational background, your training, your social setup, apparently we have 5 to 6 thinking patterns on our own. So whenever you face a problem, whenever you face a situation, let it not be a problem, let it be a situation, and you have to solve it using your own creativity. You use one of these thinking patterns. Okay, so oh, Aditya asked this question: what does TRIZ stand for? It's a Russian acronym. It literally translates to Theory of Inventive Problem Solving, but it's Russian. I won't bother expanding it. It's in the videos. You can take a look at it. So these principles are very, very close to our thinking patterns. Okay, so each of us has 5 or 6 of those already. Now, if you're stuck and you don't know what else to do, you can't generate any ideas at all, there are 34 more. That's what is you can use the other principles for. So I introduced 3 of them to you. These are the least used by us, I think, in my opinion. But in terms of usage from a larger standpoint, probably there is some people who already use this by naturally they use it. But I find that very few people use the other way around principle, for example. So some I picked so that it's relevant to you. It's easier for you to understand what these principles are. Okay, so if you're stuck for ideas, if your team has thought of all the ideas but none of them work, take one of these principles and try to apply it into your problem, and you will get a new solution for sure. Okay, so that's why these exist. And yes, and no, these questions, these principles are not going to be asked in the exams, apart from the ones that we cover in the course. Hopefully that was useful for you.
Thank you, sir. There is one related question in the chat by Sabarish Babu. And the
Okay.
person asked, is design thinking related to some project management methodologies like waterfall or agile? Or how can we describe DT in short approach methodology principle?
Okay. So design thinking, oh no, it's not a silly question for sure. No, it's a very profound question. In fact, if I go the other way, it is yes, these are all methodologies that you've mentioned. For people who don't know, waterfall is this stage by stage. You finish one, it leads to the next one, and then you finish that, and it leads to the next one, like a cascading waterfall. Agile is this very, very rapid. You do one full cycle, and then the next day you have another set of requirements. You always have a working prototype. It's always running. If you stop the project, you still have some output which is running, which is working. So agile and waterfall sort of differ in that is, in waterfall, only at the end of all the cycles will you have a functional product. Agile, you from day one you have a functional working product. It may not be complete, but it's there. Okay, so these are 2 methodologies commonly used in software. Software is IT. I'm sorry, software development uses these 2 models, and IBM, the company, the Big Blue, they have combined agile and design thinking because they find some merit in doing that. So if you go through empathize, analyze, solve, and test in one day, at the end of the day, you have a working prototype. On day 2, you start with that working prototype and start with empathize, analyze, solve, and test. Sort of, I don't know, design thinking on steroids. So it works very, very fast, and you can see the prototype develop really fast. Now, if your mindset and if your company and resources sort of help you with that, IBM swears by this. They have a good. In fact, one of my very good friends works on agile. He's a person who's trained in agile design thinking. He loves the method. He has successfully delivered lots of methods. For me, it doesn't work because I don't like the high adrenaline rush. I'd like to take my time, soak in the problem, and then generate solutions, and then go to the market. So which one do you want to take is absolutely your way. What I have described is more the waterfall, sort of tends towards the waterfall. That is, you start with empathize, you spend some time, and then you analyze it, spend more time, spend a lot of time on analyze, and then you come to solve, think about it, and then test. So always in my mind, I think of it as a slow methodical process. So you will always have to see if this particular methodology, if the amount of time that you spend, is it worth to solve this problem itself, right? So if you think you don't have 2 weeks to solve this problem, and then you can do the agile way, right? Quickly finish it off and get on with it, and within a day or two you already have this. If you think you have longer time, then I would prescribe the doing it the way I've prescribed it. So it has to be worth spending so much of time and resources into this, because design thinking is, yes, it is faster than traditional product or service development methodologies, but it requires a lot of attention, a lot of resources, a lot of support in your organization where you're implementing this. Okay, so that's what my answer would be, and by no means it's a silly question. Yes, thanks for that question. Hey, Shyam, I think there was another question early on. For managing conflict of interest, what about evaporating cloud tool of TOC? Theory of constraints, I guess.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So, yeah. Sorry, go on, Shyam.
Yes, sir. You can answer the question. It's by
Okay,
Vasan.
thank you.
It's by.
Yes. Thank you so much for that question. Okay, here I'm going to plead ignorance. I know about theory of constraints. I've been told by experts who have worked in theory of constraints that it's very close to the TRIZ methodology. But I do not know exactly what you talk about in evaporating cloud. If you can elaborate what is evaporating cloud and how is it related to conflict of interest, I'll be happy to explain to you this. I would say just to explore conflict of interest. Conflict of interest is about having the cake and eating it too. So you need two conflicting sort of needs in a problem, and they have to be resolved not by compromise, half of this and half of that, but both of these. So that's conflict of interest. If your evaporating cloud or a tool helps you define it that way, then great, why not? Use it by all means. But I have to plead ignorance here. I do not know about evaporating cloud. Maybe I should take a look. I will do that and probably get back to you. Okay, thank you.
All right. This question was posted on the discussion forum.
Okay.
And there was no signature, so I have copy pasted the email number that was there.
Okay.
And the questions, it's about the element name value. So, Professor, you have explained the element name value model using the student who used to come to your class late, and they want to know which corresponds to which color correspond to the element name and value. So I have pasted the conflict that you have used in the lecture.
Thank you so much. Brilliant. Okay.
So I would request you to answer this question, sir.
Okay. Thanks, Shyam. Thank you for pasting this. I was going to draw it myself, and you've saved me some time and effort. So this is how a typical conflict model looks like. This is a model to represent a conflict. Okay. Typically, you can have more than two. That's another often asked question. So let me answer this before I drift off into a tangent. So the gray, the first one, student, think of it as the element where the problem is, where or who. If you answer that, okay, to answer what is an element, you need to answer the question, who has the problem or where is the problem? So in here, it's the student. Okay, student has the problem. In some cases where you have an inanimate object, you can say, where is the problem? Okay, so that's what the element is. The next gray box is, maybe I should use another color. The next box, the hour of going to sleep, is the name of the variable. The N stands for in ENV. name of the variable. So N stands for that. Hour of going to sleep is something that the student can control in this problem. Okay. So he can, I'm assuming it's a he. Okay. So he can vary the hour of going to sleep. Let's assume it's in his control to vary it. So that's the name. So that's the second box, the name of the variable N. The yellow boxes are the two possible extreme values of the variable. Okay. So it can either be late, okay, which is defined by the student. Late, what does it mean? My hour of going to sleep 10:15 is very late, but for Sham and Sukrat it may be later. Okay. So their habits may differ. So in, let's say the student, it's 5 a.m. I know typical students who go to sleep at 5 a.m., right? So that's very late. Early is, say, 1 a.m. Okay, so that's what they have. So they can vary this. Now, if this student goes to bed at 5 a.m., that's the yellow box, what is to be gained? And that's the green box. Okay, so if the student chooses to go to bed late, one possibility, one extreme, then what is to be gained by doing that is the deadlines are satisfied. However, they are late to class, right? So that's the conflict. That's the basic problem in choosing that variable. If we go the other route of going to bed early at 1 a.m. for this student, the positive, what is to be gained, is represented in green, and what is lost in taking that path is the red in the bottom. Okay, so this is how ENV works. Of course, the pink box at the end says we are design thinkers. We would like to have both, which is both the green boxes. Whether you go to bed late or go to bed early, I want you to satisfy. You should come to class on time, and you should have your deadline satisfied. That's the desired result that we seek from the student. Okay, so that is the problem. As we, after analysis, we have redefined it. Okay, it is not an hour of going to sleep problem, but it's more about deadline satisfying and this person coming to class on time problem. Okay, so that's what our analysis has told us. So this is how we would look at these boxes, and the ENV model, or element name and value model, comes up. Okay, so one thing that I don't cover in the course but is really helpful, use this model to watch your favorite web series, watch your favorite novel, read your favorite novel, or watch your favorite movie, and see what the central character of that movie or web series is going through. Use this model to define what's going on. Okay, so that will give you, that's a great exercise. I do it in my workshops. It works really well because we see so many movies. It's of some use here. Okay, you can learn from all those movies. So we can use that here. Okay, and learn how to define conflicts. Your ability to define conflicts becomes much better when you do that. Okay, so that's my attempt at answering this question.
Thank you, sir. So participants, I would like to let you know that once you have completed the course, you might receive notification to enroll in the NPTEL workshop on design thinking. I would say it's a very fun workshop. So there are very limited seats. Whoever comes first, you will be getting admission there. So enroll in the workshop in day 2 or day 3. We will go ahead with this movie or novel and use it in conflict of interest. That's a very fun activity to do.
Yes.
We'll watch movies in the workshop.
Yes, Sham, thank you so much. And if there are more of you who want to be part of the workshop, we will schedule another workshop. Not to worry. If you're a little late in putting up your hand for joining the workshop, we'll always give you a chance to be part of the next workshop. So we'll keep you in mind. Okay. So don't worry about, yes, it is going to be online, Gokila. It's going to be online, the entire workshop. And people have come back and said, oh, I never understood the conflict of interest in the course, but during the workshop, I really got it. Okay, that's been our feedback. So we are trying to make it easier for you to understand it even during the course. So that was why Sham said this. Thanks for the bringing this up, Sham.
Yeah. So here is another question by the
Hey,
same learner.
I'm going to pause you on this. I think there was something about exams that somebody asked, saying, "Hey, how do I prepare for the exam?" or something like that. Somewhere I saw this. How to
Yes.
prepare concepts for exam.
Prepare concepts. Okay.
And
Two people had same question.
okay, so I realized that yes. Okay, so for people who are taking exams, who are writing this design thinking exam, rest assured, we will have one live session dedicated to exams just before the exams. I think somewhere in October we have a live session especially dedicated to the exam. So all your questions related to exams, we will answer it there. Okay. We will make sure that the butterflies in your tummy are made to sit idle. We will make sure that you really understand what's in an exam. Okay, what's in the exam.
Yeah. So the user asked about, the learner is asking about which organization coined the term and concept and the term multi-why.
Okay.
And there is
Okay.
a very related question in the chat box also.
Okay.
It's by Sabarish Babu again. He has
Okay.
written a post stating that we use 5 whys to find RCA in problem management,
Mm-hmm.
which based on a incident happened.
Mm-hmm.
And he further says that without knowing, we already implemented design thinking in our day-to-day application support project.
Mm.
Is design thinking well suited for support project where we work as a ticket, which is bound by SLAs? So many acronyms. So we could implement EAST, empathize, analyze, solve, and test to resolve a ticket. Is my understanding correct?
Okay, great questions, by the way. So let me take it one by one. First of all, let me clarify the acronyms. And Sabrish Babu, please let us know if all our acronyms are correct. RCA is root cause analysis. SLA is service level agreement, which tells you that DT is design thinking, EAST is empathize, analyze, solve, and test. Okay, so these are the acronyms in there. So coming back to the first question, which organization coined the concept and term of multi-whys? Okay, so I have come across 5 whys. This is popularized by Toyota in the 70s. So when I started using it, I wondered why 5 whys, right? So why should it be 5? Why can't it be 3? Why can't it be 8? Then I didn't come up with a concrete answer. Toyota felt that 5 takes you to the root cause. Okay, for me, it wasn't necessarily the truth. So I said, can it be something else? So I called it multi-whys. So it needn't, you're not tied to the number 5. And there's no trademark with 5 or multi-whys also. You can use it the way you want. So there's no organization which came up with multi-whys. I probably used it somewhere and I liked it and I've started using it then. So so use it and feel free to change it the way you want. You want to call it multiple whys or multi-whys or whatever. But the essence of this methodology is that you take the problem, be curious, ask why many times over, answer that why, and then ask why on the answer, and then get the answer why, apply why on that answer, and get to the root cause of it, which is what Sabrish is mentioning. Is in root cause, finding out the root cause, we use multi-whys. Okay. Now, in design thinking, I felt the need for multi-whys, and this is also inspired by Professor Carl Ulrich of University of Pennsylvania. He also uses multi-whys or 5 whys in his approach in design, because he feels that you can operate at whatever level you choose, where you can influence. That is the main reason he picks it. But according to me, if you know the root cause of what's going on with your problem, it's easier to not easier, but it makes more sense to go to the root cause and solve it, rather than at a user or customer level itself. This is my take on why we apply multi-whys in the analysis. Okay, so that's why it became the second step in design thinking. Of course, you can apply multi-whys anywhere, and you'll be totally fine. You can use it if there is a recurring problem, you can apply that and find out what is going on, what's the root cause of why this problem exists in the first place. So that's the main reason why multi-why is present in design thinking, so that you don't waste time in building, because building prototypes is expensive, and takes a lot of, not only expense in terms of money, but personal time, the amount of thinking that goes in there in building it and then taking it to the customers. All this requires a lot of effort and coordination. Okay, so if you do this well, you will be saving yourself a lot of trouble in the test phase. So this is what I found, that if you do this well, that becomes a lot easier. Okay, but if prototyping is very quick and rapid for you, like what we talked about early on with agile, if you're able to do it very rapidly, then why not? I mean, you can just start quickly make prototypes and move on. Okay, so that's the rationale of using multi-wise. To go to the second part of Sabrish's question, is DT well suited for support projects? Design thinking is useful as a thinking methodology for any domain, any project at all. Here we empathize with the person who is raising the support ticket. And let me take the support project. In raising the support ticket, you don't want to be jumping through hoops and loops before we get to the last person. So many a times it happens that you are calling the support people because you are totally out of options. You've asked your neighbor, you asked X, you've asked Y, your grandson, your dad, your granddad. You asked everybody. You've exhausted all those options. Now all you're left with is a phone call to the support people, right? And then I have to dial in 10 digits and then enter another 10 digits of my user code, and then 5 options and 6 things, and then you have to figure out which option is it that I can do to get this. Think of it.
अटेंडेंस की लिंक आएगी
Design and
Okay, so if you think that if this, from the support point of view, if you can make their life easier by going through it yourself, or at least watching somebody going through this, you will empathize and try to make their life better. For example, I'm exaggerating. There are many support projects which the moment I dial, it goes to the support where I need, and you get it immediately. Okay, so there you can empathize and then analyze, saying, why do they have to jump through 7 steps before they get to the support person whom I really want to talk to? And then you see there are lots of conflicts there, that there are not lot of there are more complaints than people, right? So that's why we try to see, can those questions, and particularly there are frequently asked questions, can those be answered, or can that be dealt with the automated responses? That's why you have all these built in. Okay, now you think of ways to see, okay, these people, probably you can direct them directly to the customer support, and these people can go through X, Y, and Z to figure it out themselves, right? So that's how you work on it. So it's the exact same methodology, and you can get to work on this. Of course, try it as a prototype initially. You can't launch it straight away, and absolutely the same methodology works no matter what the domain is. So I try to illustrate it how it works on support projects as well, through my example. Maybe I've oversimplified it or maybe I went into too much detail, but this is what I think of it. Okay, thank you so much for that question. Yes, Sham, over to you.
Yes, sir. Yeah, this is a question related to the assignment, and this
Okay.
question was framed by Sukrat. The question reads that which of the following factors does not affect the number of levels for the multi-why analysis? Limits due to the natural phenomenon, mood of the subject facing the problem, scope of domain expertise within the team, and administrative limitations. And now we have given the right option as mood of the subject facing the problems, and user has this learner has a mark the correct option as scope of domain expertise within the team, and the learner is pretty confused.
Okay, fair enough. This is a very good question. And this is something that, yes, it's not, let me put it this way, that it's not explicitly covered in our videos, but in the book, it's gone to a little bit of detail. What I think of in terms of number of levels. So, like I said, right, one of the questions was, does it have to be 5? Can it be 3 levels? Can it be 7 levels? Can it be 9 levels? But where do you draw the line, right? So that was one of the things that comes up in multi-way analysis. So if you think about it, uh, if you have a natural limit, okay, so if chemistry says that this is how it operates, okay, and you ask why does H2 and O2 combine to give water? I really don't know. Okay, that's what chemistry tells us. Unless I'm a chemist and I know exactly what's going on, that's going to be my limit. That's how hydrogen and oxygen react in this world, and we have to take it with that. So that's a natural phenomenon. It could be biological, it could be any of those phenomena that we're talking about. That's the ultimate limit of analysis itself. Shyam, can you put this up so that I'm going one over the other? I don't remember the options so clearly.
Sure, sir.
Okay, just a second. I'll just note it down, and then probably you can go back. I mean, you can stop sharing after a while. Let me just note it down. Okay, mood, scope of domain, and administrator. Got it. Okay. So this next one is, suppose you had asked this question to a legal person, okay, some multi-why, and they are able to answer it in that domain. Okay, they are able to do that. There's a wonderful video. Go on YouTube and look for. Let me just put the search terms that I did: 5 whys and Jefferson Memorial. This is a wonderful video that you can watch on how they have used 5 whys and how did they solve the Jefferson Memorial in Washington, D.C. in the US. It was going through some problems and they resolved it using multi-whys, okay, 5 whys. How did they do that? So watch this video. It's really useful. There in each step, they actually brought in an expert, but their expertise stopped there, right? So if you didn't have access to other experts, then you cannot go beyond that. Suppose you ask me, why is grass green? I'll tell you, oh, it reflects green light. Why does it reflect green light? And I'm stumped because I'm not a biologist. I don't know. So then I bring in a biologist. They're able to explain what the biology behind plants absorbing other light and it only emitting green back. They will explain that to you. So every expertise, it can stop there. Okay, so that's why scope of domain expertise within the team is a limiting factor. That's all I know about the, basically what it's saying is, what do I know about the problem? Once my limit is reached, I stop. Okay, so the third one is administrative limitations or legal limitations. So suppose the speed limit is 75 kilometers per hour. There's no way I'm going to be able to challenge that and say, why is that? Man, go and change it. No, you can't, because that's the law, right? Unless you're a lawmaker yourself, you can't really, and there is a due process for that. You can ask, why is it 75 kilometers per hour, the speed limit, and somebody says, cites a paper. But unless you are a knowledgeable person and you're able to challenge that speed limit, that's pretty much where our multi-wise stops. Okay, so these are the three options where it's, I mean, the question was a negative one, right? So these three are where there is a limit for the multi-why analysis. Okay, now it does not depend on the mood of the user. Why? Because that we handle in the empathize space, we do not bring that in the analyze space. That's why it's the right answer. Okay, I hope that clarifies why the option is what we think it is. Okay, I think Aditya has his hand raised. Is there a question, Aditya?
Aditya, you can unmute and speak.
Am I audible to everyone?
Yes, we can hear you.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
First of all, I would like to give compliment to you, sir. Lectures are very good.
Thank you very much.
Especially the example of that caves when you were moving in the caves.
Okay,
That was
thank you.
wonderful. And the language that you have used in the transcript is very easily, and it's totally like you are making a layman aware about the design thinking.
Oh, thank you
Your
so much.
team
Thank
is
you for your kind words.
doing a very good job. Actually, I have a problem in this question only. The same question, I mark the D option administrative. Suppose I have some problem at my home and I'm thinking on multi-why analysis in my personal life at my home. There, though, I don't think administrative limitations will be having any.
Yeah, so you see I great question. So these are the three most you know often seen limitations in where we stop. Okay, now whichever is the last is where you stop your analysis, right?
I'm justifying that the second option would be a rather more relevant option because the mood gets eliminated. Now, this is another thing that you see, that logic and emotion are some things that are absolutely against each other, right? Now, emotion is something that we are trying to figure out in just human psychology or what's up with some people at times, right? But in root cause analysis is we are digging through logic. So these are two different things that we try to keep separate, and then dwell on the number of questions that we can ask via multi-val analysis. I hope that answers your question.
Yeah. To sum up, mood of the subject certainly does not affect the number of levels. So others may or may not affect depending on the problem, but mood certainly does it. So that's the summary of it. Yeah, got it. Thanks, Sukrat, for that practical example that you gave. Yes. So here we are, what we call is the chain of logic. So can you derive a chain of logic in multi-why? That's the main thing. And in chain of logic, where do we stop? So that's the point that this question is about. Yes, Sham, you can move on to the next question.
So this is the last question.
Okay.
And the learner asks, what are the tools that we have for the empathize part? So we go out and talk to customers, interviews one thing, and the user wants to know, are there any other tools to execute this phase?
Okay. So what we call customer journey mapping is what I call the tool for empathize. The way to generate or to find out the input for customer journey mapping is through observation of the user or the customer. You actually go to their place and watch them use the product or service. Ask them to do it in front of you. If it's a product or a service, that if you have access to them, by all means do that and get all the insights that you can get. Okay, so many a times, and there have been many such cases where the user describes their process, but they've left out at least 3 important steps that they are not even aware that they are doing. Okay, so one of the key ways in which we do it is through observation. So observing them. The next best method is to do it over video calls, ask them to use the service or product and show us, because we were in lockdown mode for the last 2 years. One of our customers wanted to do a field survey, field observation. We actually contacted people hundreds of kilometers away, thousands of kilometers away, on a video call, ask them to use a tractor, drive it around, and then show us what they do. It was tricky, but it was better than just them describing to it, because they, when describing it, leave out a few steps they think is silly or need not be there, or they themselves are not aware that they're doing. So an observation, a visual observation goes a long way. So that's the main, and we are trying to look at it from the in fact, IDEO, I think in one case, I think I described it in one of the videos, is strapped a video camera to themselves to see what a emergency room patient is going through, right? So this is another creative way to do it. You're looking at it from their perspective. You've strapped a video camera. You may not pay attention to certain details, but your camera is recording all of this, and you can draw your inferences later on. Okay, so I would highly recommend at least 2 people going on field one to lead this observation/interview, and second one to make notes or videograph or photograph what's going on. Okay, this really helps you in drawing out these insights from the field activity. Okay, so those are few ways to do it. There are I think other ways also to do empathize, like emotional mapping. I was talking about empathy, sorry, not emotional, empathy mapping. I have come across that in the past, but now I really don't know what are the steps in it. Perhaps you can look it up. This is a process called empathy mapping. It's a bit more detailed than what we have covered in customer journey mapping. Okay, so hopefully those was useful. Yes, Sham, over to you.
So there's a question here.
That's the number of questions, and we will now take up the questions posted in the chat.
Okay.
I want to read this one though. If there is
Sure,
a conflict
Go
between
ahead.
two family members, shall we apply the design thinking concept to solve the problem?
Okay, so in fact, one of the things that I tell people in my classroom, that it's very difficult to explain single people what conflict is. It's very whereas other people have lived and breathed conflict. Okay, jokes aside, I think yes, of course, this is. In fact, I'm working with a professor from Spain who is an expert in the field of negotiation. So negotiation, think about it. Negotiation is nothing but you trying to look at this situation, contract, whatever it is, from the other person's point of view. Okay, so that is exactly what a conflict is, right? So if you don't get it, if you don't empathize with them, you will not be able to see their point of view at all. So conflict resolution, yes, you're applying design, whatever you call it, design thinking, you call it negotiation, you call it problem solving. It is about understanding the other person's point of view, get their ideas, and see, and you have your own needs from the situation. How do you have the cake and eat it too? How do you make, they call it win-win, right? In negotiation they call it win-win scenarios. So they should win, but you should also win. So how can you make sure that that happens, right? So our Porthos should get his clothes well made. On the other hand, this person should not be touched, right? Porthos is very finicky. He doesn't want to be touched. So how do you do both of these? Of course, in family members, this is a classic, right? My wife asks me to take an umbrella because it's going to rain, but I hate carrying an umbrella because it's so heavy and I keep forgetting it. So that's a conflict. I have to carry the umbrella, but I shouldn't carry the umbrella. How do I resolve it? Right. So I've never figured out a solution to that. I end up carrying the umbrella. But yeah, so those are definitely something that you can use to solve a problem like that. So yes, the answer is yes, Bharti. You can use design thinking methodology to resolve a conflict like that.
Okay.
There's another question also, I suppose, right? Yeah.
There's one more question. Vasant asked, to analyze a problem with multi-why method, is detailed domain knowledge essential?
Detailed, I'm not sure, but domain knowledge really helps because you and I may be taking a guess. So suppose it's a problem that you see. Let's say let me talk about something that I'm absolutely no clue about. Let's say biology. Okay, I am not trained in biology. Okay, and I'm given this task where it ends up in biology domain. I need a biology expert for this, right? I cannot figure out what's going on in that field because I'm not trained in that field. So I definitely need the domain knowledge from this. Now, what level of expert do you need? Do you just know it, need it at a surface level, or do you need a deep, in-depth understanding of that? Depends on the problem situation itself. Okay. Sometimes you may need it at a genetic level, so you need a geneticist to come and assist you. Sometimes you just need it at a plant growth level, so you need only a biology expert like that. Totally depends on what kind of problem you're trying to solve, whether it's detailed or not, depends on the problem. But highly recommended that you do look at domain knowledge. But internet these days sort of has level the playing field in some sort, but also introduce perils. We think whatever Wikipedia says is ultimate truth. It may or may not be. Okay, no offense to Wikipedia. It's been very useful for me, but sometimes it's just written by folks who have read something somewhere and put it there. Okay, so bear in mind that you need probably some experts to look at what is going on with this particular domain itself. So you may need experts there.
Sir, Pranit has one more query on the empathize phase. I
Okay.
will now request him to unmute and speak. So maybe he can explain it better.
Okay.
Pranit, can you ask the question? Can
Yeah,
unmute
yeah,
and
I
speak.
can. Yeah,
Yes,
thank
please.
you so much for the opportunity.
You're
The thing
welcome.
is, I'm currently working on digital product and talking about user interviews. I would like to have any suggestions for collecting qualitative data, because the thing is, now suppose if I go to a user and I told him and tell him that please use this app, and I'm trying to analyze him, so he gets
Hmm.
conscious that yeah, ये
Hmm.
मुझे देख रहा है. How do I approach this problem?
Okay. So I've seen, I think we're running out of time. We just have a minute, so I'll try to make it quick. Um, Google, I've been to Google's user experience room, and they face the exact same problem. They face this on a daily basis. What they have attempted this is by having an entire room to that user. Okay, and they give the freedom to operate with the app and do that on their own with nobody in that room. However, that screen is visible to somebody in another room where they are watching what the user and of course the user already knows this, that they are being watched. But this is what I've seen with Google, where the user experience room, this was years ago, maybe they've changed the modus operandi right now, but if you are unwilling to influence them and they become conscious and they don't use certain interfaces, you can perhaps ask them to do this, send the recording of what they've done so that you can analyze this later on. That's probably a few ways to do this, get around to doing this. Or if you can remote log into how they're doing it and watch this and this, saying, hey, do these 3 things. There's a car alarm going on. Do these 4 or 5 things, and then you will be able to we'll be able to look at what are you doing with these options. Perhaps these can help you get some real user insights without you influencing them. Okay, hope that helps you, Praneeth. If not, let us know in the discussion forum. We'll be happy to answer that.
Okay. Yeah. So thank you all for participating in this live session. If your queries has not been answered, you can definitely post it on the discussion forum. And we have scheduled the next live session on Friday, September 16th from 4:30 p.m. to 5:30 p.m. You can all join there and ask questions to Professor Bala.
Okay, so thank you so much. Okay, Aditya, sorry we are run out of time, but I'm okay to stick around. For other people, thank you so much for joining this session, and hope to interact with you on the discussion forum or in the next session, live session that we have. Shyam and Sukrat, thank you so much for your support for making this happen. Thanks everyone for logging in for with such enthusiasm. So see you next time.
Excuse me, sir.
Yes, Aditya, please tell me.
Sorry, I'm taking your time. Extremely sorry.
No worries, no worries. Please go ahead. I have the time. It's up to you.
Actually, sir, like we all are working persons, so basically I'm working as a teacher. So these
Okay.
days, exams, pressure on the. I
Sure.
just want to know that for exam point of view, we are to prepare ourselves from objective type questions.
Okay. So quick answer to that is yes. Yes, this will be multiple choice questions or multi-select questions, MSQ or MCQs only. Okay. So that's all.
And
What will be the individual composition of the exams and all that? We have a detailed session in October. Just before the exam, I will request you to log into that session. We'll give you
right
all the
now,
details you need.
right
Yeah.
now, as we are busy, so to prepare as and so your that transcript which are given in all the schedule that you are giving in the online course, they are sufficient for us, or do we have to go in more detail of it?
Sukrat and Sham, I would
I
request
can
you to
answer
take
that,
it
sir.
over.
So it's so one it wouldn't be very complicated, the question paper or the exam, the final exam
No,
that
no,
happens.
Mr. Sukrat, I'm not having that tension of tough or easy.
Okay.
Once we have to sit, we have to face it.
Yeah.
What I feel. I am a teacher, so I know the complexity. It may be tough, it may be easy. We have to face the challenge that
No doubt.
I
Yeah.
want.
Yeah.
I just want to ask that is that material sufficient? Because
That'll be sufficient. Yeah.
in a busy
That'll be
schedule, we won't be
sufficient.
having much time to go in much detail of everything.
That'll be sufficient.
Got it. More than enough.
Okay.
I think more than enough. The videos, if you watch it, or / the transcript, if you read it, it's more or less okay, is what we think. Although we have started referring to the book and the content in the book as well, because we feel that all of the content, there have been some updates to the content that we think makes sense for design thinking, and I've updated the book accordingly. But updating videos is a whole lot difficult task and a different task compared to the book itself. So
Sir, I
the
always
book was
on the video, I
updated.
like the way you present.
Okay, thank you so much for your kind words.
Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Sukrat and Mr. Sham. Thank you.
Okay. All right, folks. Thank you so much. Have a great day, and we'll see you in the discussion forums and in the live session next week. Okay. Bye, everyone.